does it hold a different definition depending on who you are? For example, if you give a layperson an ayah or a hadith versus giving a student a knowledge in ayah, and he asks for like the sabab al-nuzul or the sanad for a hadith, does it hold like the same type of
طيب خيرا جزاك الله خيرا. With regards to the proof and the evidence from person to person, does it hold a different weight or a different usage or a different level? In general, yes. Of course, the one who understands, the one who can pick it up, even if he is an independent, but he can do a little more with it than someone who's just a 9-to-5 Muslim, yes. But at the same time, a 9-to-5 Muslim can ask the ruling of something. Is it lawful for me to own a barbershop? And you're the imam of the masjid, says, yes, it's lawful. And he respectfully says, can you show me a proof that it's lawful? You don't trust me? Or, no, I trust you, but I just, no problem. You tell him this is why it's permissible. It's permissible until proven impermissible. Or the exact opposite. You can't hold a barbershop. And he says, why not? Should he ask you why not? Is that the most respectful thing? But let's say he says, could you help me? I need to explain to other people. Say, sure, no problem. Even if he doesn't get everything, he doesn't know everything, he doesn't know Arabic, but you showed him what? Something. Even in the English translation, it's what? It's something, right? That's a fact. And of course, there is a discussion with regards to the etiquette of asking a question and the etiquette of answering the question. And the etiquette of asking for proof and the etiquette of providing proof. Do you always have to? Should you? Depending on the situation, so on and so forth. But yes, there's a difference. No doubt about it. And what's important is that a student of knowledge that's learning from you or getting something from you, you want to be able to feed him. You want to make him big and strong the way he can go and make 10, 20 other people big and strong. That's how the knowledge is spread. That's how knowledge is passed on. You understand? How me and you talk about an issue is not how me and you talk about an issue, as an example. I'm going to give you this, that, because I know you're going to give a class to 200, 300 people. وهكذا والله أعلم. خير إن شاء الله. Anybody else? No. تفضل أخي.
Can you repeat the hadith on attributing a lie to the Prophet? I kind of missed bits and pieces of it.
The hadith about lying on the Prophet ﷺ said, من تعمد أو من كذب علي متعمدا فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقْعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. Whoever lies on me intentionally should take his seat in hell. And there are many other hadiths with that exact same wording. And there are other hadiths that say whoever says something about, or whoever attributes something to me that I didn't say, without the word intentionally being mentioned. Wallahu alam. طيب خير إن شاء الله. Nothing else from the brothers here. Question is coming from the Bronx, New York. Initials MA. Can a man salam at noon non-mahram women outside? There's no prohibition for men to give salams to a Muslim sister. Not in the Quran and Hadith. Cultural, this one, that one, the streets of Philly, maybe. You can't, it's a rule, right? You don't give a sister salams. Right? She walks by, you have the beard, she has the niqab, you just what? Just walk by, scale the wall. That may be here or in Saudi or whatever the case may be, wherever it is. You can't give salam to a woman. But in Quran and Sunnah, we have the exact opposite, which is to spread the salams. Spreading the salams, talking with them, being sweet, this and that, flirting, that's what? Total different story. But if a person just respectfully said, Assalamu alaikum, that's the sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Wallahu a'lam. Next question is coming from Youngstown, Ohio. Initials UK. Assalamu alaikum. Mufti, can you name any women scholars of the past? There are many women, female scholars of the past. The greatest of them is Aisha, radiyallahu ta'ala anha wa ardaha. And one of her disciples, Amra bint Abdurrahman, whose name you can seldomly read a page in any book of hadith without reading, right? And there are other women scholars as well. However, let's keep it real, let's be honest. Number one is when people talk about female scholars of hadith, they existed, no doubt about that. But don't try to turn it into some other liberal modern thing that it's not. The day we're in the masjid with Imam Ahmed, traveling with Baghdad, Bukhari, it wasn't like that. That's number one. Number two is, there were many women, hadith scholars and narrators, who didn't become as famous and prolific because they were women. And the scholastics then and even now were dominated by men. And there are reasons why. Whether you agree or not, right or wrong, but there are reasons. Let alone the fact that a woman, no matter how much of a scholar she was, she still had to worry about shyness, being outside, traveling, without a mahram, being in the contact of men, so on and so forth. And I think that this question and what I've answered can assist to a commonly asked question with regards to, can a woman give dawah in public? Can a woman be a YouTube speaker? Can she? We've said this before. If she's quoting Quran and Sunnah, she's quoting the beneficial things from Quran and Sunnah, she's covered properly, she's behaving in the proper way, the proper etiquette, what's the prohibition on that? As far as laughing, joking, speaking nonsense, uttering falsehood, quoting some da'if stuff, laughing, joking, this, and that, different story, right? Different story. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Next question says, London, UK, initials AM, is it permissible to take student loans? Student loans, any type of loan should be avoided unless it's a must. The general rule in Islam is that you should avoid going into debt, period. The debt is serious and the debt is dangerous. And the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he used to seek Allah's refuge from being in debt. And he told us why. What happens when a man goes into debt? He makes promises and then what? He doesn't keep those promises. That's a problem, okay? A student loan, the general rule is, if it's a need in taking a loan, then it's lawful, as long as that loan doesn't involve anything which is impermissible. As far as student loans, then they're very problematic. One of the reasons why a student loan is so problematic, is what? People live in a society in which they think and feel if you don't go to university, then you're a failure in life. If you don't go to university or uni, then you're a failure. You're nothing. You're nobody. And you won't amount and equal to anything. And half the students that go to the university, and I'm only going to say what I saw, what I see, most of the people that go to the university of Muslim youth, how many of them actually get real jobs? How many of them are actually employed? How many of them are actually financially healthy, successful? Some, but how many? You go to college right now, full of Muslim students, full of Muslim kids. How many of them plan on getting married? How many of them are married upon graduating? Have more debts. They still can't get married. Their parents still say you have to be this, you have to do this, you have to have a bigger, better degree. So to think and feel that a degree itself is the cause behind your success and you being successful and having wealth is an error that so many Muslim parents make today. Especially, and I'm not trying to offend no one or disrespect no one. Like I said, I can only say what I see. Especially Muslim parents that come from other countries. Going to college, having a college degree is wajib, mandatory. And if you, then that automatically means you're a failure and you have no success in life. You could be an entrepreneur, you could have a trade, you could be in a family business making 2-3 times much more money. But you have to have a degree, you have to be an engineer, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer, you have to have a white-collar profession to be successful. So many times, many Muslims, they take these student loans, not because they have to study, because it's a means of survival, but because they're just trying to fulfill that from their parents. So that's a big problem. And saying that the student loan is lawful or unlawful is only the Band-Aid on the broken arm. The broken arm, the bone that needs to be straightened and realigned, is speaking about how the Muslims look at the hayat dunya and why you even make money and save money and earn money and spend money, why you live. What is the purpose of working? All right, so that needs to be addressed. And there are many, many other examples like this in Islam. The people, they busy themselves talking about this, talking about that, when he said this, without going to the core of the problem, the core of the issue. So therefore, if you have to take a student loan, if it's obligatory, if it's a must, then that's one thing. Necessity in Islam has its place. In Islam, there is a time and a place for necessity. And if you don't have to, if it isn't a necessity, then you should avoid that for several reasons. Let's move on to the next question. Father Sheikh.
Yeah, I agree with what you were saying. But I still know there's so many Muslim and non-Muslim on loan, and they still in debt today.
Yeah, it's scary. It's rough. Just to fit in with society. And I'm not saying that there's no benefit in studying in college. I'm not saying that you can't get a degree. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it isn't important, but you don't worship that degree. That degree doesn't feed you and give you drink. That degree doesn't make you happy or miserable. That degree doesn't make you an acceptable person just because of a piece of paper and what that piece of paper represents. That's the problem. And Allah surely knows best. Bronx, New York. Initials TA. What is your thoughts on Tafsir Jalalain, and would you recommend a person to study it? Tafsir Jalalain is an excellent book. It's an excellent book for a beginner. It's a very important book for a beginner. And of course, I would advise a beginner to study that book. Is it perfect? No. There's no book besides the Quran which is perfect. Absolutely. Wallahu alam. Questions coming from initials BA, Bronx, New York. Does any authentic hadith contradict Quran? If so, if the hadith really authentic, and how should you come to conclusion with so-called contradiction? There's never going to be an authentic hadith that is going to contradict with the Quran. It may seem outwardly contradictory or something like that, but it's never ever going. Two authentic texts will never ever clash without no way of making harmony. MS from Dallas, Texas. How and when should a convert take their shahada? What are the requirements? You should take your shahada immediately. Don't hesitate. Anything that's causing you to hesitate or to think is from shaitan. Immediately become a Muslim the moment you realize that it's the truth. And that's because becoming a Muslim is obligatory. You don't have a choice. And you're going to be punished very, very, very badly on the day of judgment. When Allah asks you, have my messengers not come to you? Has the message not come to you? And you say, oh, I needed more time, such and such. So don't procrastinate and don't hesitate. Whatever's holding you back isn't a good enough reason to hold you back. Let alone how many Muslims, including myself, we have problems and issues. People, they want to be a Muslim, say, I like smoking weed. I'm not ready to stop. Muslims smoke weed, unfortunately. Muslims sell weed, unfortunately. Right? It's reality. Well, my girlfriend, you know what I mean? One guy told me, I swear, he said, I promised to take her to Cancun, Mexico. As soon as I take it, I'm going to be a Muslim. Nah, take your shahada today. Then go to Cancun. Muslims in Cancun dressing and wearing crazy stuff. It's better you die like that and a Muslim than other than that. Let alone that no one's going to be perfect overnight. You have to work. You have to strive. All right? So there's no requirement. You take a shahada whenever you realize that Islam is the truth. You make that declaration. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Next question says, AB from Brooklyn, New York. What are some du'as one can make to save a marriage and strengthen a marriage? Is recite Durood Sharif 11 times at the time of Isha, recite Surah Hijr ayat number 47 for 101 times, etc. Okay. I've never heard of none of those practices to be authentic. As far as what du'as can you make for a successful marriage, there are many du'as. Many du'as. So many du'as. It depends on how you look at it. What's the problem behind your marital discord? You're fighting, you're arguing, you can't get over what she did or what he did. You have a problem with infidelity, whatever the case may be. So just look at the main problem in your marriage or the main problems, and then look at the necessary du'as pertaining to poverty, pertaining to greed, envy, fear, insecurity, sin, tawbah, whatever the case may be, right? Seeking Allah's refuge. It depends, right? And if not, you make it the dua that you need to make, a specific dua to Allah to save your marriage. Wallahu alam. AJ from Cincinnati, Ohio. Assalamu alaikum, Sensei. Barakallahu fikum. What is the ruling on Muslims donating plasma? Jazakallahu khairan. Donating blood isn't necessarily a haram thing. There are some issues with regards to Muslim, non-Muslim exchange of blood. But obviously we live in a non-Muslim country. There's no Islamic lands that we live in. But in general, the general rule is that there's no prohibition for a Muslim to donate blood. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Question going to Abdul Wahab, Twin Cities, Minnesota. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. What playlist on HadithDisciple do you recommend to watch after finishing both Seeking Knowledge playlist and 40 Hadith playlist. I would recommend for you to read or to study or to listen to the playlists that deal with ulum al-ala, the tools, the auxiliary tools, and also some of the playlists that deal with ulum al-ghaya, the sciences and the types of knowledge that deal with what you're supposed to be studying. So I would recommend, wallahu alam, after you have those playlists, bidnillahi ta'ala, the playlist on ilm al-mustalah, tadhkira, bayquniya, nukhbat fikr, taysir al-mustalah al-hadith, inshallah ta'ala. Wallahu alam. Next question says, SH from Queens, New York. Assalamu alaikum. When we barely have sleep and then we may go unconscious for a few seconds or a minute, does that break wudu? Wa alaikum salam. In general, no. If you can doze off or nod off, especially sitting down, doesn't necessarily break your wudu. There's a long discussion on what breaks the wudu. Wallahu alam. BA from Bronx, New York. There are people who hold the view that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was a prophet of Bani Israel as well as the messenger in this ummah. Have you heard this before? The messenger of Allah ﷺ was a messenger for everyone, anyone who hears about him. UH, Minneapolis. For a person who has a strong hifz, which alfiyas do you say he must memorize? Jazakallahu khairan. I would say that you don't have to memorize any alfiyah. Neither of the two alfiyas is mandatory. Preferred, recommended, no problem. But it's not mandatory. You can understand ilm al-hadith. You can become an expert in ilm al-hadith without memorizing an alfiyah. That's first and foremost. But for argument's sake, the tradition of the people, which of the two, in my humble opinion, I mean, both are excellent. They both have their virtue. Obviously, Suyuti rahimahullah ta'ala came after an Iraqi. In most cases, Suyuti's language is going to be easier. The lugha is easier. And Alfiya has more. Suyuti has more. And the Suyuti came after Iraqi, so he's going to have more polished Alfiya because he came after Iraqi. He had the chance to see Iraqis, benefit from Iraqi, and add his, and see things develop in his time versus the time of an Iraqi. Wallahu ta'ala alam. And of course, there are arguments for both. OC, Bronx, New York. Can you bring a wheelchair into the masjid? Does it have to be clean? You can bring a wheelchair into the masjid, and the wheels should be just like a person's shoes. Naam, the shoes should be like what? Like the wheels. Make a brief check, inshallah ta'ala. Columbus, Ohio, ASC. Sheikh, what advice can I give to a woman who wants to marry but she struggles to wear hijab? Maybe her getting married will help her wear hijab. Inshallah ta'ala. Maybe her and her husband can work on it together. Maybe he can support her and push her and be there together. Maybe she'll have a stronger reason on getting married because she has a husband. So on and so forth. The husband's right. Being jealous for her husband, so on and so forth. Question has come from Queens, New York. Initials SH. Is it valid or invalid to do different number of times to each part of wudu? 2 times, right arm, etc.? No. All of that is not only valid, but that's also from the sunnah. To diversify your wudu. And the number, once all, twice all, 3 times all, once here, twice there, all that is mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. HS from Windsor, Ontario. What is the ruling on someone who forgot part of a hadith during the khutbah? And the khutbah, we mentioned it already. May Allah help all the Muslims in Kashmir, help the Muslims around the world. May Allah heal all of the broken hearts and wounded body parts of the Muslims around the world. Ameen. May Allah give the Muslims swift and decisive victory against their enemies and their foes. And may Allah raise the flag of Islam and of La ilaha illallah. And may Allah make them patient and have mercy upon all the Muslims who lost their lives, wherever they are, Palestine, Kashmir, the continent of Africa, around the world. Sallallahu sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imam Muhammad.